Hey you guys, thanks for clicking on the video. I put up a video yesterday about addiction, about addict mentality, and some things that were going on. And today, really quickly, I just want to give a follow-up to that video. If you didn't see it, I posted it up yesterday, part 1. It's here on the channel. And, you know, it's weird. I find that it's easier for me just to pop on. I did this for like 3 years on Facebook. Just got to a point where I would just pop on when I was in a mood, when the energy was there, whatever inspired me at the moment or came across my spirit to get on and say. I found that I had a lot easier time. My points were made more precisely. It just came for me. Whereas here on YouTube, when I try to sit down and write my content out a little better, organize it a little better, put more thought into it, do, different research projects, and it's that planned out, I find that I really struggle with that. I really struggle with those videos to get the points made. Maybe it's because we're a little more self-conscious on YouTube because it's a whole channel and we're trying to put out quality content for people. Whereas on Facebook, we're kind of just blah. Friends, family, whatever. Here we are. It's, maybe it's because it's a little bit different ballgame. I don't know. But I do a little bit of both here on my channel. I will have videos where you'll see me just pop on here and it will come across me and I will have a more intense energy than usual, and that's okay. And then I will have videos to where they're more planned out, more organized. I'm going to be discussing things a little more calmly and slowly, but I am going to get into this follow-up thoughts on my video, Addict Mentality. I do have a few more points to make and thoughts to express with you guys, perspectives, personal experience, information. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to put that out there, though. At the heart of me, just kind of a little disclaimer here, I am not out to bash anyone. Really, at the heart of me, I care about people very deeply. And I'm really not out to bash anyone. But I'm a human being, and I will have times in my videos and on my channel where I will express anger, where I will be more intense about certain subjects, where I may have a little bit more aggressive attitude about certain subjects. And then I will have times where I'm just calm and everything is nice and, a more relaxed vibe. I will have to say that's pretty human to me. That's not abnormal. Human beings are complex. We have a lot going on in our lives. And, some things I am healed on, I have worked through, and I'm peaceful and confident about those things in my life. And other things, maybe I'm not as healed on those things, and maybe I'm still doing work on those things. And I think that it's perfectly okay to express it. I think that is, rather than keep all that intense energy stored inside or take it out in some negative way or on someone, I think that it's great to find some type of positive, productive activity to pour that energy into. So I'd rather do that than anything. Okay. So with that being said, here on the channel, I am not dispensing advice of what anyone should do. I am basically just talking about personal experiences that I have had in my life, and giving out my personal perspective on things, either that I have gained through mentors or personal therapy, or my own research and study. And, I will always let you guys know the difference if it is based on fact that I got the information from a professional, or if it is my personal perspective and how I feel about it. I'll always put the difference out there. My videos are for educational and awareness purposes only, entertainment purposes only. So just wanted to get that out there off the top. I am not here to bash anyone. I am not here to hate on anyone. But we are human beings. And again, we have things in our life that have hurt us or been unfair to us. We all carry around some things like that. And I think it's great to find positive, productive ways to release that. That's just me. To me, that's a part of healing. People can sit up and talk all they want. Well, that person's just so negative and they just talk this and they just do that. But you know what? At least they're finding a positive, productive way, and at least they're working through it. Now, if they get stuck doing that all the time, okay, that would be a problem. But you catch my drift. But anyway, I appreciate you guys joining me. And I'll be keeping a balance here on the channel. Before I get into the addict topic really quickly, I really like balance, and I'm always aware when I am going too far to the negative side or too far to the positive side. Bet you never thought I'd say that, huh? I guess people don't think about that, do they? Oh yes, you can go too far to the positive side. You really can. To where you are so far in a toxic positivity cloud, spreading, rose-colored glasses all over everything, to the point where it's actually denial, and you are ignoring some very serious issues in your life that need serious attention, or ignoring very serious things that you can't take accountability for. Maybe you hurt others, or you got in a situation, you feel guilty about that. A lot of people do that, and sometimes they go too far to the toxic positivity spectrum of everything's okay. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, don't stay stuck there. That's just so negative. Don't dwell on that. And a lot of people will do that to you, or do that to themselves, before they've ever even addressed what the problem was. They will skip the problem and they'll go right to that toxic positivity stuff. Oh, I'm healed. Oh, I don't want to dwell on the negatives. I'm a person that likes to keep a balance. And so when I see myself going too far, like if I've made too many videos in a certain time period that are only discussing negatives, childhood trauma, narcissism, things like that, then I will go ahead and make a couple videos of something like an inspiring story from my life, something that brings me joy, peace, and something a little more uplifting. I enjoy keeping that balance. Those two sides, that is all me. It's all real. It's all authentic. And so, but I do like to keep that balance. So just to let you know, in future content, there may be videos where I am a little more aggressive. I am expressing anger. I'm expressing something painful. I'm sharing some things. I might be very strongly opinionated on that certain subject. And then I will have other videos to where I am feeling the love, feeling the peace, sharing a beautiful moment that happened to me. Because within my life, I have experienced both extreme traumas, extreme loss, extremely traumatic and stressful, rough living. I have experienced some shit, okay? But within that, I've also experienced some beautiful things, wonderful things, miracles, in fact. I just have lots to share. It'll be upcoming in the future. So I see both sides of life, and I will always try to keep that balance. Back to the addict mentality. Now, I know a lot of you may have people very dear to you, and this may be a very touchy subject to you. You may have people very dear to you that are addicted, that you have struggled with, that you are praying for, that you are going through this with. Trust me, you're not alone, as do I. I have many people that are very dear to me, and I always have since I was born, that are struggling with some type of addiction. So this is not to bash those people, but it's hard to please everyone and every perspective out there. I just get on here and say what I want to say, what I have to say, what I've learned from this particular situation, and what I have found works best for me. And yesterday, after I posted the addict mentality video, now look, I've been on both sides of the damn coin. I really have. But for me, I always have, not quite fitting in over here, but not quite fitting in over there either. I'm in a unique position. Because just like when I was growing up, I grew up in a very nice, affluent neighborhood that my parents moved into. My father, although he was an intelligent man, he struggled with all different types of addiction, mainly alcoholism. He struggled with emotional problems, unresolved and unhealed. In his generation, they did not go to a lot of therapy. And he struggled with abuse issues, and he was very abusive to us. My mother, my grandmother lived right next door, my maternal grandmother. She helped to pay a lot of bills so that we could survive in that neighborhood, keep that house. My mother did different types of jobs, secretarial, she sold Avon, but my parents struggled a lot. And within that neighborhood, I had these two polar opposite parents. You know, my mother had me in ballet. She had me in cultured things. My mother listened to classical music. She was very cultured. She traveled the world. My father, not that he wasn't intelligent, he was, but he was more of a shotgun-toting, beer-drinking, pickup driving, carry a ball bat to your head redneck. That's what he was. He loved to garden. He loved to fish. Call it what you will. So I was stuck between those two very extremely opposite people. So from the time I was little, yes, I already had this dual influence, these two different influences, and I am kind of elements of all of those things. I can be, and I can relate to kind of all of those things, and I'm kind of drawn to people with different elements like that. Okay, that's normal. Our early caretakers will influence us like that, yes. And so what I'm getting at is I've always had those two beginning there, those two very different extreme influences and all these elements to my personality, like where the hell I feel this, but I feel that, and I don't like that all the way, but I don't like that all the way. And I've lived in little bitty country, redneck, small towns where there's nothing going on, and I've lived in the city where I was born. It's not a huge city, but it is a city. It's definitely, you know, we have art and music and culture here, and so, you know, I've done both. I've lived on the affluent side. I've lived across the tracks, so to speak. I've lived in all types of different situations in the streets. And, you know, it's really weird. I fit into all of those things, but none of them. It's weird. So to relate this to addiction, same thing with what happened to me and addiction. All of my life, everyone around me was addicted to substances. I attracted a lot of addicts as friends, romantic partners. My father had been heavily addicted. All of my siblings were going through it, and I wasn't. I will go into this in later videos about my anxiety disorder and some of the reasons why I think I avoided substances. Number one was I was too scared. I had a terrible anxiety disorder, all kinds of things going on with that. I was also raising my children. I was very young. And up until I was 38 years old, I did not get addicted to substances. I never did any substances. I did smoke a lot of pot from 12 to 18 years old, so I know what that's like. And I actually did try smoking crack cocaine 3 or 4 times when I was 17 years old. That was it. That was my only experience with that. And after 18 years old, 17 and a half, 18, that's when I started having my terrible anxiety attacks. I never, ever touched any substances ever again, with the exception of alcohol. I would go out on weekends after my children were in bed, or a babysitter occasionally, and I would go. I always worked in restaurants and bars, probably for the greater part of 18 years. So I had a lot of friends there, and I would go and have some cocktails. You know, I did drink kind of heavily between the ages of 26 and 35. No substances, no drugs. You couldn't pay me to do that shit. And during that time, I was going to therapy a lot, doing a lot of emotional work on myself, very spiritual person. During those years, I got high on life. I got naturally high on, what project can I work on next? I was a songwriter. I loved to sing. I loved to write songs. Very creative. I love to study. So I just had a lot going on it was keeping me busy. And I was absolutely terrified of substances. A lot of people around me in those years were using meth. It got all into my family. A lot of people were using just all sorts of things, and it just really terrified me. And sometimes, they would try to get me to, but I think a lot of what held me back was fear. And somewhere I knew in the back of my mind that if I ever perhaps tried some of those things and liked them, that I might be a worse addict than everyone. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew, because I had an addictive personality. We'll get into that in later videos. Born into the family I was born into, with the different genetics going on, different anxiety disorders, bipolar disorders in my family, obsessive compulsive disorders in my family, tendencies to be codependent. Okay, I had other addictions going on besides substances. Yes, I was very codependent. Sometimes I would call it relationship junkie. Okay, those are things that I had to work on all of my life and learn about those things. So I had other addictions going on. You can be highly addicted to more than just substances, okay? But just to follow up yesterday, I want you guys to know I'm not here to bash the addicts, because I've been on both sides of the damn coin. For years and years of my life, I have been the one that was dealing with the addicts, that suffered the abuse from the alcoholic father, that watched this eat into all of the lives of my siblings, watching holidays getting ruined, watching, the structure of the family, just watching all of this go down, what it was doing to them, putting my brother nearly on his deathbed so many times, taking the lives of two of my other brothers, my oldest and my very youngest. I have two brothers left alive. Taking the life of my father eventually. I watched all of this happening throughout the years. And so for many years of my life, I was the one dealing with it, stressing out over it, mourning it. It was killing me. They would come to my house sometimes. I would put them up. I would take care of them. But then I began to become afraid of them as well. Like, oh my God, I'm trying to raise children. I'm trying to go to school. I'm terrified. I don't know how to take care of this situation. They're out of control. This can be a terrible stressor on families. And yes, I got angry about it. And no, I didn't think it was fucking fair. So, for many years of my life, I was the one needing support, needing counseling, needing Al-Anon to really understand what was going on with my addicted relatives, my addicted friends. I was that person, and I'm still that person. Even though I later developed an addiction myself, I'm still that person. Those same family members are still my family. I still love them, but at the same time, it can be hard to deal with. I am that person who has juggled that all of my life. That having to have the boundaries and the self-care to keep toxic family members at bay and on the boundary lines, but at the same time loving them and trying to have relationships with them the best I can. Also in my partnership, my romantic partnership. Someone I love very dearly. We've been together off and on 6 years. He just went into a new program. So, I've always been that person that has to juggle both of those lines. And all of those feelings at once. And so, yesterday, I posted the video. I know I keep saying that. And I was talking about how people who are severely addicted often manipulate, lie to, have family members convinced of things that just are not true, and it can be a big mess. All right, now, as life went on for me, I ended up getting addicted to opiates when I was 38 years old. Both of my children were grown. I was hitting a time in my life where I was about to approach empty nest. I had 3 abscessed teeth, or this probably would have never happened to me. I never, ever would have had the desire to go out and look for pills. Or to say, you know what, I think I want to take some hydros today. Or I think I want to shoot heroin today. Or I think I want to try drugs today. Absolutely not. The only thing I had ever been on in my life from the age of 18 until 38 was a beta blocker for anxiety-related issues with my heart. That's it. I was very phobic of drugs and substances. Been that way all my life. I'll go into that at another time. But at 38, I went to the dentist. I had 3 abscessed teeth. They gave me a bottle of opiates. to relieve the pain. I was very afraid to even take one, but I was terrified the pain would come back. I took one, and from that moment on, right when I took that, something happened to my brain, and I took another, and I took another, and I took another, and I found myself not even in pain, taking more. It changed my mood. It made me a nicer person. We'll get into all of that later about the story of how I fell into addiction. The person that no one ever expected. I was the last person that anyone would have ever expected that to happen to. But that did happen to me at 38. So I now know what they know. Now I have both sides of the fence. I know what it's like to have that addiction in your body, taking over your brain, ruling you, all that it does to a person. Even though my addiction to that only lasted 3 years, and then I decided I don't want to see anymore. This is where I'm different. I don't want to see anymore. I'm going to go into a program and get some help to put a stop to this. And that's what I did. I don't want to see anymore. I know where this is going, and I don't want to go there. That's why what I said earlier in the video about being raised between two extremes and having the pull of two extremes, not fitting in totally with the country folk like my dad, not totally fitting in with them, but being drawn to them somewhat, and not totally fitting in with the cultured, affluent folk either, but being drawn to them as well and enjoying that too, and sometimes hating fucking both and not knowing where. Okay, the same with the drug addictions and the addicts. Now, yes, I do fit in somewhat because I am an addict. I became an addict. It caught up to me. And I have experienced that, but at the same time, I don't fit in with the super severe addicts. You see, to me, there are different levels of all of this, because once you're an addict for so many years, it really changes your brain chemistry. And although 2 or 3 years is enough to do damage, it's not irreparable. It's not to the point where you've lived so long thinking that way. You know, there are just differences. And I know addicts of 25 and 30 years that have made brilliant changes. You know, it's never too late to change and heal and do the work, but it's going to take longer depending on how long you've had the addiction. Some people I know have had it lifelong. They've been addicts since 14 or 15 years old, and they are now in their mid-40s approaching 50. They're going to need a lot more work than someone who was only addicted for 3 years. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make me any better. It doesn't make me any worse. It's just I have a hard time being thrown in with super severe addicts, because there's a lot that I can't relate to when they start saying, well, I did this and I did that, and I didn't do that. I didn't do all that. I was terrified of drugs most of my life. I didn't go that. I didn't do all that. But there are some things I can relate to. I did make mistakes while addicted. I did hurt people while addicted. I did manipulate while addicted. I saw where my life was going, and I wanted to put a stop to it as quickly as possible. But it was very difficult once addicted to opiates, because your physical body is in hell when you stop. Okay, and I will get into that in later videos about the medically assisted program that I went into to stop using opiates, and that's what it took. And that's very controversial. It's a very controversial method of recovery, but I've got a lot of thoughts on that to share with you. But anyway, so yeah, flipping back to the video yesterday about addict mentality, there was only so far I was going to go with addict mentality, and then no, because I've been working on my spiritual life and my emotional intelligence far too long. It was taking all the work that I'd ever done on myself away. All the work that I'd done in therapy, all the work that I had done to emotionally grow, to spiritually grow. You've got to have that inside. Again, going back to why a large percentage of people are highly addicted. The emptiness, the lack of something inside here with number one, something fulfilling this, the self-esteem, the emotional intelligence, the spiritual tap, whatever it is. I'm going to share what worked for me, what kept me going in later videos. But yes, there are some differences. You can't just group all addicts into one category. You just can't. We have all had different experiences as individuals. It depends on the reason why you started doing the drugs. It depends on what drove you to it. I know where my mind was when I allowed myself to continue taking the pills, because I had painkillers before in my life. I'd had 2 kids. Oh, sure, I cut my arm when I was 14 by accident. I'd been shot up with morphine before. I had throughout my life, here and there, some type of form of pain medication that was narcotic. However, I was always so paranoid about it that I would freak out and go, I don't want that in my body. Oh my God, I can't wait till it wears off. I never had that brain click during those times, whether it was in my family or not. I never craved it. After, and I have been given that stuff before. And I've often pondered, I've often examined why at that time in your life, when you took that one opiate for your tooth, why did you have a brain click and everything changed? And at that time, you proceeded with a 3-year addiction to it. Why the times before, when you'd ever been given some kind of opiate or some kind of pain med in the hospital, how come you didn't get addicted then? How come you didn't go, oh, when I get out of here, I'm going to go pursue this. I'm going to find this. My brain was in a different place all those years difference. And I will go into that in a later video, where my brain was when I allowed myself to go ahead and take the opiate, and what I was thinking at that time. Those are important things to share and important things to know, the differences between, because if we can trace back why we did things, what was involved, that can help us to learn and grow. So before I close this out, I will make a part 3 to this, and I'll talk about what I was thinking when I took that next pill that I really didn't need to have, and what clicked off in my brain, and what I was going through at that time based on all the other times before where I did not get addicted. But when it comes down to letting severely addicted people manipulate you and lie to you, and even though we may love them, even though we may want to help them, I talked about this yesterday, a lot of times they are not in the mental place, the emotional place to appreciate your help at all. They're just not in that space. And Tiffany Jenkins is a recovering addict as well. She's a comedian. I found her on Facebook a few years ago. Juggling the Jenkins is her page. And she's really funny, and she shares a lot of stories of her struggle with addiction. And one day she said something so simple, but it really meant the world. And I have found it to be true. She said, a lot of people ask me, how on earth can I deal with my loved ones who are addicted? I want to help them, but they are also ruining my life. What is best for me to do to really help them? That's really going to help them, not enable them, not kill them, not keep their drug addiction going, not continue making them comfortable where they'll continue doing it, but also not make them feel unloved and abandoned or hated. What on earth should I do? She said she gets these questions. And she said when she was addicted, the best thing that people ever did for her was to cut her off. She said, quite plain and simple, don't give them money, don't feed them, don't take care of them, cut them off. Because she said that was the only way I really got uncomfortable. Nothing to eat, no clean clothes, nowhere to go, looking at my life like, my God, what have I done? My God, no one's going to come to my rescue so that I can keep doing these drugs comfortably. That is what Tiffany Jenkins had to say about it, and it really moved me, and it made a lot of sense. That's with anything in life, drugs or anything else. Giving too much can handicap a person. It can make them lazy, unmotivated. It can enable their bad habits and lifestyles, and it's really hard for a lot of us to do. But if you really want to help someone, give from your heart, give in a productive way, but then cut them off. Let them know you are not to be drained out. No one is going to keep coming to their rescue so that they can keep killing themselves and having that comfortably. They need the chance to be able to get uncomfortable enough to even make the changes. And that's where a lot of us family members go overboard, because we really don't know what to do. And that's more about us. We don't want our feelings to be hurt. We don't want to feel guilty for not giving. We. So let's evaluate. Is that a selfishness? Are we really helping our addicted loved ones or not? It's something we really have to think about. It's really painful to be in that situation. I know. Guys, I'm out of time. I will make a third part to this, and we'll go into a little bit more of this, some other things and other points that I want to make. I hope everyone is doing well. Stay blessed. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.